action. Hi guys, I'm Amara.
I'm Wilfred. Welcome back.
Today we are talking about the market update on the Vancouver Real Estate vlog. So we're going to be sharing a little bit about just in general what's been happening in our market, and then also kind of touching on those statistics that we got from the board recently as well. So to start us off, we're going to ease in just by sharing a little bit about our observations on the market and how we've seen that sort of impacting our clients and ultimately impacting you as well. So to kick that off, what are some of the biggest things that you've seen going on in our market right now?
Yes, good question. So what's been going on is it's been slowing down. Winter is here. It's been slowing down a bit in terms of activities and in terms of prices. So we're going to talk about the numbers now. For example, if you saw our previous video, we talked about October, and as a reminder, we have the numbers back for you, and then we're going to compare with the new numbers, and so that you can see, what's been going on in the past month. So in terms of detach, the benchmark price last month in October was 1.892, and in November we are at?
Yeah, so it's sitting at about 1.856, so just under 2 million.
Yeah, it's not a big difference, but it seems like it's slowly slowing down in terms of price. Average days in October was 35 days, and in November it is?
Yeah, it did sort of increase, which is quite common in the winter season, so we went up to 40 days, so about an extra week on the market.
Yeah, so so it looks like houses, detached homes, have been sitting a little bit more on average. Let's talk about townhouse now. Benchmark price last month, October, was 1.043. And in November?
Yeah, so now we're sitting at 1.027.
There we go. So now as well, and average days was 23 days in October.
And again, just increased by a little bit, so we're sitting an extra 3 days on the market. So this one about half a week longer.
And for apartment, last month we're sitting at 727. In November, it was?
Dropped by about 7, so we're sitting at 7.2. And then average days on market?
28 days.
And it's the exact same right now. So I think that just states that apartments are always a hot commodity if you have the right listings, and are definitely what people are going for right now, opposed to the more high-priced items, which are a little bit harder to get approved for.
Yeah, especially first-time home buyers, they tend to get into apartments. Obviously, it's the most accessible, like you mentioned, and that's where we're seeing at least the most activities these days. And also for investors, it's a safer investment. Rental prices, which we're going to talk about, is also on fire, as you probably already know. So our next topic. So what else do we want to talk about, Amara?
Our last number that we're going to touch on is just talking about this year compared to last year, because that's a really hot topic right now. We're going to go a little bit more in depth in this in our next video, which is the housing market really crashing? We're going to talk about our thoughts on that and share some insights.
Stay tuned for that.
Yeah, please follow and like to see more content. But regarding this, over last year, we are actually down by about 53%, which sounds like an incredibly large number. But just to give you a sneak peek into our next video, the market last year was unprecedentedly high compared to what we've seen in the past. And so it's not surprising that we're actually down by about 50%, especially with those interest rates right now.
Yep, and about 1,600 homes sold in November, and in October it was 1,900, but then the previous year it was in the 3,000. So that just to give you some context of how much more active was last year. And interest rate definitely has an effect on the supply and the demand. So what we're seeing in our day-to-day, has also been that people are willing to let their asset, their real estate sit a bit longer, and as a result, it's taking more time. And then the people who need to sell, of course, they will need to adjust to the pricing of today's market. Prices are not like March anymore, where it was at the peak, So that being said, what do you see on your side, Amara?
Yeah, so from what I've seen so far is, and I think I said this in our last video, it's all about pricing properly for the market. So at the end of the day, we said this as well. If you need to sell, you need to sell. And if you need to buy, you need to buy. You can't really time the market. So, with that in mind, there's tons of opportunity if you're looking to buy or sell. It's just a matter of what you're looking for. So for people who are looking to sell right now, definitely encouraging them to consider playing it at market value. Properly priced homes right now are actually getting multiple offers in some situations. I was just talking to a couple of people in our office today about that. And then just kind of talking about the market from the buyer's side is it is harder to get approved right now, so we're seeing less activity, and that's making sellers a little bit more anxious, keeping them a little more on their toes, and it's giving our buyers more opportunity to research the market and make sure they're getting the right home. And then do a lot of due diligence. So, I know we've been talking about home inspections recently. That was actually, not very common when we look at last year. People were just jumping into it, and it was a really dangerous thing to see. And something that concerned me, is people not being able to do that due diligence. It's a little bit more of a gamble, and it's not something that we want for our buyer clients. So I'm excited that we can really give them that opportunity, that they have that opportunity to do their proper home inspections, check their strata documents, look through things that are actually fundamental to confirming the long-term value of your home.
That's a very, very important point, because also, I'm sure majority of you already know this. It's probably one of the biggest financial purchase that that someone will make in their lives, and home inspection typically less than $1,000. So that being said, it's not necessary. It's not legally, or legally obliged to do it. And on that point of protecting the consumer, in January 1st, 2023, there will be a cooling period, a rescission time, 3 days, right? More details to come on that later. What I also wanted to mention, about like the market, like we talked about earlier, some specific areas and some specific property types are increasing in price. We know that we just mentioned that the market in general has slowed down. But for example, Vancouver East and Burnaby East has actually, on average, for townhouse and apartment, gone up. So what does that mean? That means that people are still out there looking, and people are still buying. So is the market really crashing? That's the question. Maybe for a certain location and certain property type, it might, but definitely not everywhere. So I think that's a key point also to remember.
Well, and the other interesting thing that we saw happen is the removal of the majority of rental restrictions. So, we went from having these like 19 plus buildings and, having limits on the amount of rentals in the building, where maybe some stratas, especially the older ones, they were only allowing like 4 to maybe 10 rentals in their entire building. And it was a gamble for people wanting to buy into those buildings to see whether they'd be able to have a renter, if they were going to have to, move in, or, pay empty home tax.
Yes, and that we will see the effects on the rental market, because obviously it takes time to see the effects. But my guess is hopefully it will make things more affordable for the renters out there, because of the increase in supply. Because yes, most of you know already that the rental prices has gone up, and it's just too much, really. In such a short amount of time, right? Average, last time I checked, the average one bedroom in Vancouver is one of the most, if not the most, now in Canada. And before, even last year, it was just 2,200. And now it's about 2,400, 2,500, 2,600 on average, of course.
So, I've even seen as high, I think on Zumper it was sitting at like $2,700 for a one bedroom home, which to me is just insane when you look at, what people, I know it is what it is now, but what people used to pay for mortgages. So.
So yes, good opportunities for investors out there, despite the high interest rates. And
The one thing that I wanted to mention, because a lot of people are saying, oh, are there no rental restrictions anymore, is we're still allowed to have restrictions regarding Airbnbs. It's actually also a municipal thing for a lot of places, is not allowing Airbnbs. So typically that's 90 days or under. So it is nice. I mean, especially if you own in a building and now they're allowing renters to come in, I still think is a great idea as a whole, providing more housing for people. But you definitely don't want to be having the short-term, partiers in your units and
yeah, that just creates
in and out.
more trouble
Yeah.
for everybody. And I mean, it's good for some buildings, especially when it's close to vacation spots,
Yeah.
like Squamish.
Yeah.
Squamish is a city that has really grown, and lots of Airbnbs are being done there. Whistler, obviously,
Yeah.
Kelowna,
Yeah.
and so it's very interesting. Again, specific property type with specific location is key, really.
Well, and it's all about priorities. Right now, their priority is to create more housing for people. Whereas if we're looking at, some of those areas that you're talking about, like Kelowna, we're looking at Whistler, they're really trying to promote tourism. And so I think that may be part of it as well. And then 55 plus housing is something else that they kept, which I'm really happy about. I commented that in my video on Instagram because I actually think it was really important for them to keep that. A lot of people who are a little bit, up in age, they need that community and even just accessibility to housing.
Yes.
So
I agree, because it will be a huge disruption also in how not only the strata is managed, but also like in terms of the demographic. And I think sometimes it's good to take things slow and not to implement too much change over a sudden.
that being said, I think this kind of wraps up our video. So I wanted to ask you guys, what change would you like to see next regarding strata restrictions? Mine's going to be pets. What would yours be?
That's very good question. I'll get back to you on the next one.
Okay.
I don't know on top of my head right
Fair
now.
enough. I kind of called you out on that one. So you guys comment below what restrictions you would like to see lifted regarding stratas or implemented as well. And then outside of that, I mean, as always, please like and follow for more. We love to see your guys' feedback on our videos and hear how you enjoyed them and if you learned anything. So
Yeah, thanks for your time again,
Yeah.
and we'll see you on the next one.
okay, bye guys.
Bye-bye.